right, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Mental Health Mondays. I am, of course, Mind Runner, aka AA Ron, and with me is one of my brothers from another mother, Inner Marks for Life. He's one of the OG Dynamite Download posse, and also he is a huge proponent of wrestling, of professional wrestling, especially women's wrestling, particularly Mission Pro. But more importantly, he is a source of positivity, of motivation. And there have been several days where I personally have been down, and I caught a couple of his little videos that he's done to change my perspective and got me back on track. I actually wouldn't have been doing these podcasts if there weren't for a couple of his motivational videos to kind of get my mind right. But I am talking, of course, of none other than the true CB himself. He is Ryan Romano, and he is the Thunder Brosa. Anyways, I just called you the Thunder Bro. Maybe somebody else has that moniker, but
no, that's Jeremiah Wilkerson.
That's right. That's right.
He's the real Thunder Rosa advocate.
Yes. But I first started noticing you at the Mission Pro events. In fact, I remember catching you on a couple of. I was watching back some old matches, and I remember that one shirt you had that had a bunch of stuff on it. I can't remember. It was like a bunch of letters and stuff on it, and I was like, "Hey, there he is! There he is!" So it almost became a "Where's Waldo?" Like I'd watch like La Rosa Negra and I think it was Masha Slamovich, something, and I saw in the background. I said, or maybe it's Holiday. Whatever.
I think that was the last Mission Pro show I've actually been to. It's been a couple of years since I've been to a show, unfortunately. But yeah, it was La Rosa Negra versus Holiday. It was at the Southern Star Brewery.
Yes. Good stuff. Now, it wasn't you that was playing that obnoxious trombone or trumpet or
whatever. No.
Somebody kept like Deb and I were watching a couple of those shows, and then in the background you hear this burr, 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 and I was like, oh, somebody needs to go tell Stewie over there to knock that off. Well, Ryan, it's great to see you. You look great, dude.
Thank you.
This looks. We look like a before and after picture for like a weight loss health program. It's like, hey, this is what he used to look like, and then 12 months later, he's this guy.
I've been doing okay. Have not really been following wrestling very much lately, unfortunately. It's just I know this is a mental health podcast, and that's something that's been a big struggle for me especially over the last year, just trying to figure things out with my life. And I still am curious about wrestling. I still try to, follow what I can, but the big thing for me right now has been trying to get to a state of joy and happiness in my own life. And one of the things that I wish I was still doing on a regular basis were those morning videos, because they were a big component for me for a while, and a lot of people told me that they like you, that they were a big help to them, and they're still out there. They're still floating around on Twitter and Facebook, but
there's something about the immediacy of it, though. Like having those daily check-ins. It's like, and you never know when you put yourself out there. If you just judge by the number of likes or even views, that doesn't necessarily indicate the impact that you have, because there may be 2 or 3 views, but you may have changed 2 or 3 people's lives, and that's more than a lot of people can say, right?
Right. I used to judge them on that.
Yeah, and I think that's a mistake. I just want to say, though, when you said that you haven't been following wrestling much, half my audience just breathed a sigh of relief, because they know we're not going to spend as much time talking wrestling as they were thinking. So, But yeah, it's hard to not judge by the numerics that they put out there, but even just one person, I think that makes a difference. Are you thinking about getting back into it?
Um, I try to follow some things. I did watch a couple of matches from a Fearless Pro show that happened in Houston, Texas, a couple of weeks ago because two of the wrestlers, Izzy James and the insidious Sid Mars,
Yes.
they are good friends of mine, and I haven't seen them in a while, but I just wanted to watch their stuff because they they've really made a positive impact on my life. And
I,
Thunder Rosa as well. I would have never found those two if it wasn't for Thunder Rosa. I can speak about all kinds of great things about her. Um, outside of any AEW, NWA wrestling storylines, I can speak to her qualities of the person and talk about what she did for my mental health, what she did to inspire me to do those morning videos.
and that's Thunder Rosa is a great example. And I promise everybody, we're not gonna. This isn't going a professional wrestling route. Thunder Rosa, professional wrestler, but she's so much more. She inspires the people that she's around. They adopted Anakin, and she's had a rough couple years recently too. And somebody as positive and like she's one of those people. If you don't know who Thunder Rosa is, or Melissa Cervantes, she is one of those people that, like, if God has plans for her and she disagrees with God, then God is wrong. Like she's that, like, I want to say stubborn's not a good word because that's more negative, but assertive. Like she has sets her mind to something, she gets it done, and she's but she lifts everybody that is around. It's good to her. It's around her. She tries to lift everybody up, and she's had a rough year, and the people that have been following know that there's been some friction backstage, and I think that my take on it, again, I don't know, but my take is that there are people that were intimidated by her presence and took a lot of the stuff that she was doing the wrong way. Perhaps there was some egos bruised, and they really were mean to her. So, but what I want to say is, like, here's somebody that's inspirational to you and I, and she admitted she had thoughts of suicide, and she went to a really dark place, not just physically but mentally. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've noticed that Brian Cervantes doesn't really interact with her much publicly anymore either. So I don't know if everything's okay with them, but more so, I know she's been on a journey, but I'm excited for her to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, what do you like? To me, though, it makes me feel both sad but also a little inspired that even people that we admire have not just bad days but bad years, but can also work through it. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that life has to change in order for us to learn like who we really are and who we want to be. I think that people are scared of change, but it's a good thing to go through because you can have the opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
Thunder Rosa and Brian, I remember going to Mission Pro shows, and I remember how close they were at those shows, and whatever is happening between them now, don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I know things have changed. I believe that, and I think that they are growing. Brian's working a lot with Mission Pro Wrestling, and Thunder Rosa's focusing on her projects and getting back into the ring, and she's going to be making her return soon. I'm very happy about that, and I think that they are, whatever happened between them, it wasn't whatever was going on. They were in a bad place mentally, but now things are getting back on track for them, and I'm very happy for them. And for anybody who is struggling with anything in their lives, if there's something going on that's not working for them, they have to take a step away and realize, okay, what do I have to do to get back on track here? What do I need to do for me? What do I need to do for the people who are closest to me? You know, because that's the most important thing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, 1,000%. It's like you have to step back. I think sometimes we humans tend to bang our head against the wall and expecting the wall to eventually break, and I think, like you said, sometimes you have to step back and really reevaluate, the direction you're going. And people grow and change doesn't all it's change does rarely feels good initially when you're going through it, right?
Mm-hmm. No, it doesn't. I'm going through it now. It doesn't always feel good. I've had a lot of ups and downs over the last couple of years. When I came home and found my dad dead
Mm,
back in June of 2021, it was, I definitely wasn't expecting that, but it was it was God's way of showing that, okay, it's time for you to grow up. And it's he has a new plan for me,
mhm.
and I don't know what that's going to be. I just have to take it one step at a time. But there's been, starting from that moment when I found him, and I knew he had passed away. Thankfully, he was gone very quickly, because I had talked to him 20 minutes before I found him.
Mm,
Um, but it led to a lot of opportunities for me to help other people.
yeah.
My nephew moved in with me for 7 months. I gave him an opportunity for him to figure out what he wanted to do in the next part of his life, and I got a new car. I got a second job, and that's how I met my girlfriend. Now we've been together for 11 months, but
Nice.
thank you. We've had our ups and downs too, and I wouldn't have had that. I wouldn't have had that second job, and I wouldn't have found her if uh, I didn't need to get that new car, which I was stressing about. And now now the second job that I got was just supposed to be a part-time job. Now it's my full-time job, and I'm
Wow.
I'm in management now, and I'm not sure where it's going to go from there, but I'm excited about that.
That's tremendous. Like, I there the impact of, whether, divine intervention or the way things happen, and like how a terrible tragedy at the time, it's heartbreaking. It's such a loss, but then there's good things that could come out of it. You need to taking a second job. This an opportunity for your. You said it was your cousin? Who is it that moved in with you?
My nephew.
Nephew. Your nephew moved in with you. That gave your nephew an opportunity to reset. And now look at you. You're big money, Ryan. You're big money, Ryan, and things are going well for you. I met my wife Deb through like a crazy amount of circumstances. And it was one of those things where, like, things we were in a reset mode, both of us, and we just happened to meet in a way where we weren't looking for anything, and now we're happy. It's really remarkable, but it's got to be incredibly heartbreaking when you lose a beloved family. Were you close with your father?
Yes, very close.
Was he kind of like you? Was he kind of like a source of wisdom and positive energy?
There were good moments and not so good moments with him.
No, he's parents.
Yeah, I'm I'm seeing a therapist now. I had to go through a few therapists before I found the one that I'm with now, who I really enjoy. She doesn't try to dictate the sessions. It's more of a conversation that we have with each other, and we're just playing off of what we're both saying. She talks about some of the things in her life when I start talking about the things in my life, and um, that's I forgot where I was going with this. Um, but no, that's one of the one of the things I wanted to work on with her is try not to focus on the negative things that were in my relationships with my dad and my relationship with my current family members, because there's negativity all around, and that's just a part of life. We're human. We're not perfect. We're gonna have good moments and not so good moments, and I want to. When I think back on my dad, I want to just really focus on the good times.
Yeah.
And when I interact with my family members and with my friends, I want to, just I don't want to dwell on anything negative. I want to stay positive as often as possible. And staying positive is not being happy all the time. Staying positive is hanging on when things get bad, knowing that there's going to be better times ahead. I saw that one time on Twitter. I forgot who tweeted that out, but that's something that really stuck with me.
Yeah, that seems the difference between, like, people say toxic positivity, where it's like that lobotomized smile, like, hey, everything's super, without dealing with reality. But, like, there is something to gratitude and finding the positive side of situations. Would you agree? Like,
Yeah.
and not being ignorant to bad situations, but finding the positives, right?
Right. I thank God for the good times and the bad times. That was something that I wrote in a letter to Thunder Rosa back in 2020. I realized that all the good and the bad in my life led me to where I was then, and where I was then was an avid supporter of hers. I was one of her really big supporters back then, and I was so thankful, because if I hadn't have had a falling out with being a teacher, if I hadn't have gone through all my years of working my last job where I was miserable, it would have never led me to wanting to find an outlet in professional wrestling and social media and YouTube, and I would have never found her, and it wouldn't have led to more good things.
Hey, like, God is great, and,
All
like,
the time.
there's things that it's hard to explain to someone that hasn't experienced that. Like, and do you feel like a lot of people go through life just kind of bumping along and don't really take, or do you think people should take more time to really find gratitude in their lives?
Yes, definitely. And I think that's one of the reasons why this world is so messed up, is because everybody's not, well, not everybody, but a lot of people are not grateful for what they have now. They just want to keep on changing, or they want to push their own agendas. And if you don't agree with what I have to say, then they're going to shun you. They're going to put you down. And why are we doing that?
Yeah.
We can all have different beliefs. We can all have different opinions. It's okay to disagree with each other, but why do we have to be so angry? We should be grateful that we live in a country, and there's a lot of countries in the world like this, where we have the ability to voice our opinions. We have the ability to choose what kind of life we want to live, and we should be grateful for that, instead of trying to be like, oh, my way is the right way to be, and if you don't follow my way of life, then we're gonna cancel you. We're gonna.
Yeah. It's like, I always go back to, it's like you post on Twitter, I like apples, and then everybody responds, well, why do you hate bananas? It's like, I didn't say I hated bananas. I just said I liked apples. Stop. Yeah. What kind of apples? You only like certain? I hate apples. And I'm like, oh, come on, dude. But, you mentioned being a teacher. How was that experience?
It took me a while, but I look back on that time as realizing the kind of person that I was. I had a big ego. I thought I knew everything, and people were trying to help me, and I didn't want to hear it. They were trying to tell me and give me tips on how to be the right kind of teacher in the classroom, and I just took it in the most negative way. That, oh, they're just trying to put me down. I'll never be good at this, because people are not letting me be the way I want to be, and nobody cares what I have to say. So I walked away from it, blaming other people instead of blaming myself.
How important is taking ownership of, like, that's a real hard thing for people to do.
It,
Taking ownership of their part in situations.
it's something I'm still trying to work on, but um, it's very challenging. And some people go their entire life never learning how to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So
as a
it's
teacher
understandable.
myself, I've felt that, and I walked away from the classroom, but because the education, being a teacher is tough, man.
Mm.
You're responsible for so much, and more they take a lot of control and autonomy is taken away from educators, and it's like it really is an education system now. I mean, I feel like you probably got out at the right time, but I think sometimes, do you feel like sometimes we can be our own worst enemy as well?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I've been telling people a lot that lately. I've been
Yeah.
telling a lot of people that lately.
Yeah, I'm my own worst enemy. I've been trying to lose the weight. I've been trying to get that positive motivation. How do you find the motivation to seek better health and better self-care management?
It had a lot to do with my girlfriend wanting to be a better person for her. I finally decided to go see a psychiatrist. I did not know that psychiatrists are going away from the therapy aspect of things. I thought that a psychiatrist covered both medication and the talking aspect, but
Mm-hmm.
now I went to go see the psychiatrist. He went straight to get me on some medicine.
Oh wow.
I'm taking sertraline now,
Hmm.
100 milligrams sertraline, and I found myself not panicking as much as I used to about things. I'm more calm. I'm still not I'm not happy all the time.
Yeah.
Like walking around with a big smile on my face, like everything's fine. But I'm I think the medication is helping me to manage my life better. So that combined with therapy and also combined with just wanting to spend time with my girlfriend and trying to have the most positive interactions that I can with my family and the people that I work with, and also going back to church. All that encompasses what I'm doing to try to work on my mental health, and I think it's there might be setbacks. That's a part of life, but it's something that I want to keep working on, and as long as you never give up on yourself, as long as you keep trying things to make yourself better, then that's all anybody can ask for, and that's all you should ask for yourself.
I agree. I noticed that in everything you just said, each thing involved an action that you took.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, you found your girlfriend, but you chose to become a better to strive to become a better person for her. You went back to church. You did all these things. You sought out a psychiatrist. You discovered the difference that a psychiatrist, they're leaning more towards medication, and you sought out a therapist, and you made all those moves. And I think sometimes I find myself, I have to remind myself to not passively expect things to change. If
Mhm.
you don't take action, things aren't going to change,
Right.
and I think sometimes, I'm not going to lose weight sitting on my at my computer, sitting on the couch. Yeah, I've got to exercise. I've got to put the shoes on and go. Even if it's hard initially, eventually it'll get better. But yeah, I do you there is a lot of, especially recently with our Fauci and a lot of the big pharma. There, pharmaceuticals seem to have a really bad rap, but I've found that, like, there's a baby in the bathwater thing, because there are medications that, like, for the most part, that are very helpful.
Mhm.
Like especially in situations where, like anxiety. Growing up anxiety wasn't something that was talked about, especially men. It was like you just suck it up, quit worrying. But it's a real thing. And like, have you grown up with anxiety, or was this something that recently came upon, or was this something that you think, looking back at your life, was something that you've always wrestled with?
It's something that I've always wrestled with. When I was in fourth grade, I think is when I first had an episode where I was just spasming. I couldn't stop going.
Mm.
And went to a doctor for it. They gave me some liquid medicine, and I was fine. But the next year, fifth grade, is when things got really bad. I couldn't bring myself to go to school.
Mm.
I was just crippling tears, breaking down to tears, because my parents just told me I had to go to school. And there was one day I remember my grandfather dropped me off, and I'm walking into the building, and I just start bursting into tears, and I couldn't go in. I walked back and got into his truck, and he just couldn't let me go in. And I spent 4 months out of school.
Wow.
I missed half of fifth grade. And my parents tried a few different therapists for me, and we just eventually found somebody who was just very assertive, saying you have to go back to school. And they put me on Prozac.
Oh, wow.
So
How old?
10.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Did it help?
I don't remember very much about the side effects that it had on me. I know I put on weight as a result of it, but I was always a big kid, but I was extra chubby. Those years I was taking Prozac, and my dad said he noticed a change in me. He didn't like who I was, that I wasn't acting like his son anymore. So my dad made the decision to take me off of the Prozac.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we also thought that back then, a psychiatrist was also doing the therapy aspect of the profession, and that I was going to see somebody for a little while, but that wasn't helping much anymore either. So I just stopped, and looking back, I know I still struggle with things like anger, and there were some things I was very OCD about, like my schoolwork.
Mm-hmm.
But without the help of any medication or therapist, I made it through high school, made it through college.
Nice.
And then got into teaching. I thought that would be something I'd be doing for the rest of my life, and working in the classroom. But God had other plans, and it took me until 2021 to realize that there's a better way for me. There's more to life than what I've been doing for myself, than the way I've been acting towards others and with others. And I really need to start to get back on track. And 2021, 34 years old, is when I really think I started living.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, it's funny because you say 34. It's like, I remember when I was in my mid to late 20s, I thought, oh, I know everything. I know I've got this world figured out. And then the world curb stomps you.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you the stunner. And then it's like, it takes you to about 34 or 35 before you start to come out of that. Oh, I thought I knew everything. But that's cool. Do you feel like you had to kind of go through all of that to kind of reach the level of wisdom that you have now?
Absolutely. And I don't call myself a wise man. I'm just somebody who's just trying my best to get through life.
Well, life experience, that's the life experience. Life worth living breeds wisdom, I think. Yeah, that's where as long as you're learning from it. Because if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough, because they're going to be trying to teach the same lessons to you over and over. But it's like, yeah, and kind of going back to your anxiety, what did they ever key on a specific thing that was bringing it on, or was this just something that started to onset as you were growing up?
They didn't key in on anything. It is my opinion that what started the anxiety was when we moved. I was 7 going on 8 years old, and we lived in a neighborhood where I had a lot of kids my own age, and when I would go outside and play after school and on the weekends. And we moved in with my grandparents. My grandfather bought this double house,
Hmm.
so it was my grandparents living on one side and my mom, dad, and I living on the other side of the house. And there was nobody my age in the neighborhood. It was very lonely for me back then. I remember crying to my parents because I wanted a little brother
Well,
and just to have somebody to play with. And it turns out that uh, God gave me a little brother in the form of my nephew. But back then I wasn't mature enough to realize that he did that for me, because when you're 10, 11 years old and you got this toddler following you around, always wanting you to play with them, and all you want to do is just be by yourself and play your video games. um, you don't see what is actually going on.
yeah, but give yourself some credit. You're a kid, That I
Yeah.
mean, that's how it is with like brothers and sisters. They're a pest until you get old enough to realize to really appreciate having them. It's like that's kind of how it is. But that and it is kind of cool that this nephew that was a pest for you back then. Later you were able to open your doors and let him kind of get a jump start, and that there's that familiar bond. I, if you don't mind, taking us through kind of when you like the events leading up to finding your dad the way you did. I mean, was he sick, or was it just kind of a sudden thing, or and what how did that, obviously heartbreak, but did that help you? Did that put you? How did that change your trajectory, if you will?
um, I knew it was going to be a challenge not having him anymore. um, he he had high blood pressure and high cholesterol, and he never really took care of himself. A year before he died, I remember this very well. I just asked him to drink more water and less sodas. And that was a big argument between us. That became a big, that was a very stressful day that day. And I remember just taking a little time away from him. And then I went back to him after a little while, and I told him, okay, Dad, I'm not going to say anything more about your health. You live the life the way you want to live it. You eat what you want to eat, and I will respect your wishes. And he was very grateful for that. A few weeks before he died, he was complaining that he was really tired, more tired than he usually was, but didn't think anything of it. I saw him the morning that he passed away, and I got to talk to him on the phone a few times, because one of the things that I do for him is after I work, I had a morning shift, and after work I would come and pick him up and take him on his errands to get something to eat. He liked to play the lottery, so we'd go get his lottery tickets, or he liked to bet on the horses. So I
Cool.
would take I would take him to go do that as well. And um, I checked on him a few times, called him on the phone, see how he was doing. He um, I asked him if he wanted me to come home. They would give me an opportunity to make overtime at work. And he kept on telling me, no, no, stay if you have to, make your hours, get your money. So that actually was good, because if I would have gotten off at my normal time, which was 12:30 in the afternoon Central Time, if I would have gotten off then, I would have taken him on his errands and dropped him off back at home, and then I would have gone off, and who knows how many hours he would have laid
Oh
there
wow.
gone. Um, and then if I would have gotten off, say at like 1:30 in the afternoon, he might have passed away while we were going on his errands, and that making a public spectacle of that,
Yeah.
that would have been very traumatic, and I wouldn't know what to do then. I got off at the time where you know, he was at home, and I think that was the best place for him to go. I wouldn't have want to see him die in a hospital bed, and I know he didn't want to do that either. He hated doctors. Yeah.
Yeah.
He got nervous every time I wanted to go to the doctor.
I
I
don't blame him.
I called him right before I was leaving work. He was ready to go. I told him I had some good news. I actually had an interview for a school for a teaching job that I was going to talk to him about, and got home. He's normally standing outside waiting for me, but sometimes he gets caught up with something, so I didn't think anything of it. So I called him to let him know I was there to pick him up, and he didn't answer. So that's when I started to get worried.
Mm-hmm.
I parked, went upstairs. We lived in a condominium complex, and opened the door, and there he was. And I called 911. They were trying to talk me through CPR. But in the back of my mind, I knew that I could just tell by the way I looked at him that he was gone.
Yeah. Wow. And going forward from that, I mean, obviously there's the heartbreak in the family, but fast forward, how did that redirect your life? Like, how did that like it? How did that put you in a different path? Do you feel like that shifted your path in a way?
I think it gave me an opportunity to focus on other things and seeing, what I could do to help myself more. Could I,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my life was spent trying to be there for him, to help him, and listen to him. But with him being at peace now, I could see, okay, who does God want me to help now?
Yeah.
Like my nephew. I started doing volunteer work at a local food bank, and I started going to support groups, and I met people through there. And I spent time outside the support groups with these people, and I became a positive influence for them.
That's cool.
So I think that it was it was a blessing in a way, because it gave me the opportunity to begin working on myself, to make myself better, and to make people around me better. And my dad didn't have to suffer anymore.
Yeah.
Because I knew he was very down uh, about life. He missed working. He didn't he didn't have the means to get around and go out and do things. So he spent a lot of time by himself. The only time he really interacted with anybody was with me,
Wow. And
and
had,
I could only be there for him for so much, because I had other things that I had to do, and I had other people who needed me too.
yeah, and I hope you didn't feel guilty because wanting your own space. I think sometimes children feel guilty for not being there constantly for their parents when yeah, you've got to take care of yourself. One of the things that, yeah, just like with parents and children, you got to put your own mask first before you put your child's mask on when the plane loses oxygen. You got to make sure you're taking care of yourself. And it sounds selfish on the surface, but in order for you to be 100% for others, you've got to make sure that you've got your house in order and your body in order, and that's where a lot of self care comes in. Had your mom already passed, or was she around, or
No, my mom is still around, alive and kicking. So
is,
I'm happy about that.
do you still stay in touch with her? Do you still see her?
Oh, very, very often. Stay in touch with her every day and see her almost on a daily basis.
Very cool. Very cool. And it's cool that, I mean, it's not cool that your dad passed, but it's really how a tragedy can be turned into positive, because tragedies happen, but I think sometimes we miss the gratitude, the opportunity to move forward. How has therapy helped you? Because this is something that's used to be a taboo word when I was
Mhm.
growing up. It's like, if you need therapy, there must be something wrong with you. But like, just being able to talk it out, and you also talked about the support groups too. Just
Mhm.
how important is it to really just like talk out what's going on in your head.
It's very important. I mean, you don't realize how helpful it is until you actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
You you know that I think some people feel like that. Oh, if I need to talk to somebody, I'll talk to a family member, I'll talk to a friend. But maybe people feel like they don't want to be a bother to them. Like I don't want to unload my problems on you because you got enough stuff going on. So they either bottle it in or they don't talk as openly as they would like to. But going to see a therapist, first of all, you're paying this person to listen to you, and
Yeah.
this is a professional, and therapists have no judgment about their patients. They are there to help you if you want to help yourself.
At least to your face. When you leave their office, they're like, "That guy was
Yeah,
crazy."
yeah. I was thinking about that when I said that.
Yeah. Well, no, I was just like, yeah, because I mean, probably just me though. I saw a. I remember I went to see a therapist. My job had this thing where you could get 5 free sessions, and
Mhm.
I was in a really. This was again. I thought I had the world figured out. Life kicked me in the teeth. I was struggling. So I went to see this guy. And I remember the first, like, I went to every session. I'm talking to this guy, and he's just sitting there. And I could just tell, he's just sitting there like this, like you walk in his office, and there's like people with crackhead addictions. There's people that that like stabbed their grandmother, and there's people that, I mean, I'm just assuming, but
Yeah.
there's just a lot of people with like serious, you could see the physical manifestations of their, like, they're like this and all that. And I walk in with my problems, my stupid little problems, like, oh, I didn't get enough hugs, or yeah, it's like he's just, I remember in that session, he's just kind of, I'm telling him all my problems, and he's just looking at me like, dude, the next guy I have, his mom sold him for crack. And he didn't say that, but it's like I could just tell that my problems were just nowhere near what he deals with on a regular basis. But I don't know. Anyways, I didn't mean to derail it, but like, it
No,
is help.
no.
Here I am. I totally advocated, because do you feel like, having somebody to listen and provide feedback, but most importantly, listen, like genuinely listen to you? How important is that in really self-discovery and really helping your mental health?
It's absolutely necessary, in my opinion, to be able to have that. And going back to what you were talking about in my last therapy session, she told me that there's always going to be somebody who has worse experiences than you, but you shouldn't feel bad about having bad experiences, because they're your bad experiences. Only you're the only person who understands what you went through. And
That's true.
there might be people who have had worse experiences, but don't feel bad about having your own bad experiences.
Yeah, it's all
Don't think
relative.
don't think that your bad experiences are less important than other people's bad experiences.
That's very true. Yeah, that's very true, because it, and we really shouldn't compare ourselves to others. I think it is a natural human thing, but I always would tell my students, just compare yourself to who you were yesterday, and then I turn around and I'm comparing myself to all the other teachers in the building. Yeah, it's like it's take my own advice. Maybe I should do that. And
I,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, I think it was Nikki Cross who tweeted out the other day, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes, yes, good. And coming from a wrestler who, her character is perhaps the most unbalanced and unhinged and
Mhm. Yeah.
insane characters, but I think the Nikki Glencross, the person, is perhaps a very, very well put together, well balanced person. But or maybe not. Maybe she's the
Yeah.
same as her.
She's going to be a doctor soon.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right. She's it's, now there you go. I'm Dr. Nikki. Hello. But yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, I think that is something to be said, and that's one of the sad things that I feel like with our kids now too. We're bombarded with so much social media and so much like. Do you feel? Is there what's your take on where we're at with social media now and the impact it's having on like just the general psychology of our society in general, and like not just with kids but with social interactions? Do you see it? Has it gotten worse? Has it gotten better? Is it both?
Mm, it all depends on who you're following and what the messages are of the people that you follow. I believe I, for one, used to be on social media constantly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would tweet out maybe 100 things a day, share a lot of things, and now I'm not really on there much at all. I do it when I have some free time. I'll be scrolling through Twitter or Facebook or whatever just to see what other people are doing. And my mental health, that's one of the reasons why my mental health is getting better, because I'm not on it as much. I'm not relying on it as much. I would sit at home some years ago. I would sit at home with my computer open, and I would tweet out something, and I would tag somebody in it, and I'd be looking back every 5 minutes. Oh, did this person see it? Did they like it?
Yeah.
I would need that like a drug, to see
Yes.
that. Oh, I tagged Thunder Rosa in a tweet. Oh, she liked it. That's awesome. That's awesome. But
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that anymore.
That you mentioned, it's like a drug. It is. It's like that endorphin rush, or that rush of get. And there's, I don't know if you see that was it the what was that Netflix? It was a movie, but they also talked about the like social media thing where they talk about they actually plan on setting it up that you want to see that notification, you want to see that like, you want to see that somebody gave you a thumbs up or somebody retweeted you, and it's especially if it's somebody you admire, like Thunder Rosa retweeted it, oh Danhausen liked it, there's
Mhm.
that, right, there's that confidence boost, but
Mhm.
it's temporary, and then you
Yeah.
start wanting to seek, it's like your next fix. And yeah, and what's dangerous I feel about that is when, like, I'll tweet something very positive and I'll get one or two likes, maybe if I get anything. But if I tweet something controversial, it gets so much more interaction,
Mhm.
and so there's all this granted I'll get negative stuff too, but it's like,
Negative reinforcement.
exactly. So uh, do you feel like maybe is it society that's set up this way and social media is just the tool, or is social media causing, reinforcing negativity in our society? Is it a chicken or the egg thing?
I think that society is set up this way. It could also be a little bit of social media being set up this way too. But I just feel like we as humans, over the course of our entire history, we have a tendency to destroy ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But when one thing falls, another thing gets built up. So I think right now we're in a stage in history where things are crumbling, but we got to get through it, and hopefully build some things back up very soon.
Yeah, I hope so. Do you think it's the end of the world?
I've heard a few people telling me that the end of the world is coming, but how many times have we heard that?
Yeah,
You
the
know,
sky is falling, the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine, of course, but
we've had all these pandemics throughout history, the Black Plague in the Middle Ages. Uh, was there like a epidemic of Spanish flu in the early 1900s? Then we had the Great Depression, the Cuban Missile Crisis, and everybody worrying about the Mayan calendar coming to an end in 2012. They made a
yep.
movie about it, but we're still here.
We're still here, we're still kicking, and
Mm-hmm.
we're still wasting our time yelling at each other.
Yeah.
I do you plan on getting back on though to maybe start your messages of positivity and motivation? Do you think you might get back into that, or is that something that you're looking in the rearview mirror?
I would like to get back onto it, but maybe not do it on a daily basis. Like I did the video this past Sunday, and that got a nice response from people. So like maybe a once a week thing might be good.
There you go.
Because I feel like you can only say so much, right?
Yeah, maybe every
Um,
Monday morning you could
yeah,
do something about mental health every Monday
right,
morning.
right. But with Sunday being the first day of the week, it's that's a good way to start off the week.
Awesome. How did you and your girlfriend meet up, and was it like a was it instant like this we're kicking it off, or was it like a start off as friends, or was one of those things where you just weren't looking for somebody and then like wow, here I am?
No, I wasn't really looking for somebody, but I was having a couple of emotional breakdowns at work, and my girlfriend and we both work at the same place, and we have the same manager. And she, my manager, her name is Dawn. She was the person who kind of got us together. She told my girlfriend, her name is Chris, that
Shout
we.
out to Chris, by the way.
Thank you.
Got a good guy there, Chris. Hang on to it.
Thank you. She told Chris that I was feeling down and I was looking for somebody to lift me up in my life. And Chris reached out to me saying, "Hey, I hear you're looking for a friend. I am too." And we exchanged numbers. We started hanging out, and 11 months later, we're still together. And we have not had one argument.
Whoa.
Now we've had discussions about things. We've had disagreements. Um, we've gotten a little upset about what one of us did or said, but it never turned into a shouting match.
That's awesome.
And that's something that I want to make sure that I wanted to make sure that when I'm with somebody, I never did that, because that's not going to solve anything.
Do you feel like you both because of where you both are at in your life that helps the relationship, like because of what you've gone through to get to where you are now mentally? Do you think that helps in your relationship with her?
Yes, because she's going through her own stuff as well, and um, I know she's grateful to have somebody who is interested in being with her and being a part of her life. And I'm somebody who gave up on a lot of things in life, and there are times when I wonder if I'm doing the right thing for myself in regards to my relationships and my work, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But I what I think is a sign of my improvement in mental health is that I'm realizing that things are not perfect, and walking away from it is not going to solve anything, and going to something else. That's not the answer, because I'm going to have similar issues if I go to something else or
Yeah.
go to somebody else. So the best thing to do is to stay where I'm at with things, and when something comes up, work through it, and being able to not give up and rather stay with it and work through it. That's a real sign of maturity in a person, I believe, and that's a sign that they're growing physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, etc.
How do you know the difference between sticking with something that is rewarding for you versus staying in a toxic environment? Like for example, you reflect that you needed to leave certain jobs or certain situations, but but when it gets tough with your relation, like because sometimes I feel like there is a difference when there's a difference between toughing it out for the right reasons and versus staying in and toughing it out for the wrong reasons. Do you follow what I'm saying? How do
Yeah,
you
I understand.
how do we find the what helps us differentiate between those two?
I can't say. I think it's it has to come from in here. It's a personal choice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have to decide for ourselves what a relationship is for us and what a job is for us,
Mm-hmm.
what an environment is for us. I mean, if things are only getting worse, seemingly, then we have to see if, okay, well, there's this other person who's interested in me, or there's this other position where I have an opportunity to grow. There's I'm not happy where I'm living. Oh, there's this house that opened up somewhere else, or apartment that opened up somewhere else where, you know, I can afford to live over there, and maybe I have to see what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's innate, or it's felt. Just
Yeah.
like I think, when I left a job where I was a car sales manager and I was making really good money, but I wasn't happy at all. I was miserable. And then I quit that job, moved back home, and then became a teacher. And that becoming the teacher, of course, teachers, we don't make any money. But I was happy because I was doing what I really felt like I was called to do. And then when I left the profession, it was the same thing. It was like I felt like it was time to leave. Almost a divine kind of pull, it was time. And yeah, I prayed about it a lot. And do you feel like there is power in prayer, or do you think how important is prayer? And not just prayer as in like reciting something, some prayer that you've read, but like actual, like like speaking into existence things and really unloading in a relationship, whether you're a Christian or whatever. How important is prayer and meditation in helping you find your way?
It is very important because you have to remind yourself that you're not alone. That there's some whether you believe in a divine being, or you believe in something more tangible, like you believe in the power of family, you believe in the power of friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have to believe in something beyond yourself in order for your life to mean something to you.
Yeah, I can't remember the guy's name, but it was a philosopher or scientist that actually said this, that if you if you have a hole inside you the size of God, something else will take its place. And it's and and God in that meaning could mean Christian God, could mean your whatever your belief system is, but like that I feel like there is that part of us that seek beyond ourselves. And I find that when I release things that are out of my control to divine intervention or whatever, and only focus on the things within my control, I find myself happier, and it becomes easier to accomplish goals. Whereas when I sit there and I worry about stuff that I have no control over, it almost becomes paralyzing. Do you find that?
Yeah, because we have enough stuff to worry about with ourselves, and that's the only, like you said, that's the only thing that we can control. We can control how we respond to things. We can't control what other people are going to do. We can't control the weather. We can't control the economy, but we can control how we respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, bad things are going to happen, and if we keep trying our best, and in my opinion and in your opinion, pray. You know, give our desires and our wants to God, then opportunities will come up. And when and that's what happened. That's what happened for me. You know, I was ready to leave my other job, but an opportunity hadn't come up, so I had to stay the course. But then when my car broke down and I had to get a new car and I had to get a second job to help pay for that car note in addition to paying for my other bills, that second job saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and they offered me an opportunity to do more for them, to make more money with them, to have more responsibility with them. So I had a plan. So I knew that that was the time for me to leave the other job that I was at for 9 years and go this route.
And that's such a blessing. That's so cool because it's like you felt stuck, and now look at that. You have no idea. Like sometimes we have no idea what's right around the corner. Like
Yeah.
do you think sometimes people give up, maybe give up a little too soon? You
Yes, yes.
mentioned
And I was somebody who was like that too.
like it's not well. And do you feel like society today is almost they're almost like, because things, there's so much more instant gratification, do you think that that's become a problem? People expect instant gratification or instant change.
I'm sure it's a problem with people, with some people out there.
I mean,
Yeah.
right. I mean, Ryan, I went to the gym last Wednesday and I haven't lost any weight. I mean, I don't understand, what the problem is. Now, granted, I just ate, cake last night and ice cream, and I haven't been to the gym since Wednesday. So I don't understand why I haven't lost any weight. Right?
So I think a lot of people would just give up. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's too hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, yeah. Why can't I just take a pill or just, cut 40 pounds off my body and give it to charity or something. You you mentioned that you're still kind of going through some stuff. Are you is it internal? Do you mind sharing a little bit of that, or are you starting to feel at a better place now?
Um, I don't think I'm starting to feel in a better place. I think I am starting to try to become a better manager of my life. Um,
How so?
just by starting to pray again. There was a time when I fell out of that, and the medication, the therapy, and trying not to solve other people's problems, and trying not to let other people's personality traits bring me down.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to tell myself it is what it is. I can only do the best that I can, and if my best isn't good enough for somebody, then that's on them.
Yeah. That is such a hard lesson. I mean, it's such an easy thing to hear, but such a hard lesson to really learn. Like I feel like especially people. I feel like you and I are very similar in personality. I I want to fix people. I want everyone to be
Yeah.
happy. I want everyone to
Yeah.
like me. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times I tend to take on other people's issues, and sometimes and it bothers me when someone doesn't like me. I'm like, how to come you can't like me? I'm me, and I realize that's life. There's some people that don't like pineapple on pizza.
I love pineapple on pizza.
Yeah, but there's some people and there's some people that, yeah, just some people that aren't gonna like you. That was a hard lesson for me to learn. There's just gonna be some people that don't like you, and it's not your fault. It's nothing you can do. And then there's some people that won't like you, and it is your fault. But oh well, you
Right.
don't
Right.
you don't beat yourself up over it.
You have to like yourself.
Yes, yes. What is happiness to you? How do you define happiness?
Looking in the mirror and liking what I see. And I'm not there yet.
Do you feel like you're approaching that?
Yes.
What's
Yes.
what would be happiness? What's gonna get you there? Besides the six pack, we're both working for it.
Knowing that I'm a good man.
I think you are. I
Yeah.
think you are, but I think what you're saying though is you yourself being happy with who you are, right?
Right. Right.
And do you feel like sometimes the change isn't something you change about yourself, but the change is like you said so be it. You shifted something that very few people very few people ever get to the point in their life where they understand this. Took me a long time. I think I was about 34 when I started thinking this way. Isn't that funny? But like, you got to let people be who they are. Like, I would get in relationships and want those people, those friendships and romantic relationships, I'd want them to be somebody they could be, and not really paying attention to who they were and not loving them for who they were. And it wasn't until I realized if you let people be who they are and not, because, and then and just like seek friendships for who they are, then you become happier with them. And then, of course, I got spoiled because I married a goddess. So it was like, she raised the bar back. So now everybody's got to compete with that goddess. But now I just, but what's interesting is it's so much more difficult to do that with myself, to realize I am me and I'm not perfect, but I'm pretty okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And
that's where I want to be.
And I'm not there every day. Like,
oh yeah, there's gonna be setbacks. You're gonna fall in life, but as long as you keep getting back up and keep trying, then
dust off.
Yeah, that's a part of being human. We're not failures if people don't like us. We're just human.
Yeah. If everybody liked us, then we're psychopaths.
Wouldn't be. Yeah. It wouldn't be an interesting world,
No. And I say that too, like with diversity, like how lame would it be if everybody thought the same way, had the same tastes, dressed the same, talked the same, looked the same. Yeah, it would be so boring if we're all the same,
Yeah, think about all the television shows and movies where they made it out to be that way, where everybody's like robots and doing the same thing and liking the same thing. It's crazy. It's freaky.
It's a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
How do we solve the world's problems?
We can't.
Yep. There's always going to be problems, right?
Right.
Again, maybe that's what makes the world interesting and worth living in, right?
Right.
So, are you you mentioned that you might start doing a weekly thing, but more so with yourself. Forget about online, but do you take your own advice?
Yeah, I try to. That's why my last video, I wanted to make sure I kept it really simple. Mm-hmm. Try your best and see what happens. So I definitely repeated that to myself over and over again. I've been doing that ever since.
What would you say to people out there that have gifts, but they're afraid to share it because they're afraid of criticism or they're afraid to put themselves out there?
See, that's like I wouldn't understand what's going on inside of them. So I'm not really sure what I could tell them. If I know somebody has a gift, like for example, I have this older friend of mine. He's much older than me, but he plays the guitar. He's been playing it his whole life. He's been trying to find public places where he feels accepted and he feels like people appreciate his music and want him to be there. And he's having difficulty trying to find a place in public where he feels like he belongs. Mm-hmm. But what I do for him to tell him that he has a gift and that he should keep trying to share it with the world. What I do for him is I just go to his house and he plays for me. I tell him I'm his biggest fan, and I tell him that he sounds good. I tell him that I appreciate him sharing his gift with me, and just being able to share it with me, just being able to share it with one person, that does so much for him. Mm-hmm. And I think it boosts his confidence and it makes him want to keep trying. Now, as for somebody who's afraid to put themselves out there in the world, I can just be somebody who wants to who keeps on encouraging them and wants to see what they have to do. You know, maybe they're afraid to go out and do it in public. Maybe they're not afraid to do it in front of me, you know, behind closed doors where it's just me and them.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if I keep on being an encourager for somebody, then maybe they'll think, oh, okay, if he likes it, then other people might like it too. So maybe I'll try and do it in front of this person, or maybe I'll try and do it in front of that person. And
what if they
get more confidence?
What if they suck? Would you tell them? I know, right? I know, right?
Yeah. That's a tough one.
Yeah. Where's the line between honesty and I guess is it diplomacy?
I think if they really likes doing this thing, whether it's art or a sport or whatever, if they really like doing it, but they suck, I think I would ask them the question. I would ask them a couple of questions. I would ask them, is this something that you really love to do?
Yeah, if it brings you joy.
Okay, if it makes you happy to do it. If they say yes, then I'll ask them, you know, do you care? Do you care what other people think about what you do? And just see what their responses are and go from there. Now, if they tell me that they really like what they do and they don't care what other people think, then I'll cheer them on. I'll say, go for it.
Yeah.
You know,
I'll wear earplugs, but go play your guitar.
You know,
yeah.
Keep singing, keep doing your art, keep playing your sport. Mm-hmm. I'll be there applauding you, because you know you have more guts than a lot of other people do. You know, a lot of people are so afraid of failure that they don't want to try anything. But at least this person's trying and they're failing. But so what? You know, at least they're trying.
You got to try. Yeah, you got it. You got it. And like, I think sometimes we forget that failure is like, you try. Failure is actually, I think, breeds growth.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like, I think it's worse to have never tried and always have that question in your head, like I should have tried, versus trying, failing, and being and realizing, oh, this is how it turned out. You know, like at least you know. But then you don't know that you might try and realize that you become a success. Something may happen.
Yeah, and the way you think of it is important too, because you don't have to think of it as failing. You could think of it as you figured out how to not do something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you succeeded in figuring out how to not do something instead of thinking of it as you failed.
I think that's a great life. It's a tough but great life lesson. I spent a good amount of my life, over 20 years, I think, trying to be somebody that I wasn't, like trying to live a life that I thought I was going to live, and it wasn't me. It was what I thought people wanted me to be. And then it wasn't until I started living my life as me, as who I am and what made me happy, that I really found happiness. And you know, it's almost like you gotta seek what makes you happy. You know, what brings you joy, I think. And
absolutely,
exactly. And dance like nobody's watching, and all that jazz.
Right. I'm sorry, I had to move into another room. Somebody was coming in.
It's all good. Well, Ryan, this has been awesome. I'd love to have you back on and talk more.
I would love to be back.
If you don't mind, if we could wrap this up with
a
on the spot, spontaneous, motivational message for everybody from the guru, Ryan Romano. Is there any sage wisdom that you'd like to impart on our listeners today?
Keep trying your best, and you never know what's going to happen. And I'll just say what's on my social media all the time. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. I hope you all have the best possible day you can. Y'all take care. Oh, there we go.
Take care.
Y'all take care and best wishes.
Absolutely. Well,
never stop having hope.
Never stop having hope. I love it. Excellent. Well, on behalf of Ryan, Inner Marks for Life, and all the Thunder Rosa fans out there. This has been Mindrunner, aka Ron, and thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you next time. Have a great week. Catch new episodes of Mental Health Mondays every Monday morning at 7 a.m. Start your week off with a smile and some inspiration.